Hello, and welcome to the Producers Guild conversation with the creative team behind Ziwe. We'd like to thank our friends at Showtime and A24 for making this event possible. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator today, Shelby Stone. Shelby is an Emmy Award-winning film and television producer with over 80 hours of producing experience, including the critically acclaimed television show, The Shy, the HBO films Bessie, Lackawanna Blues, Life Support, the hit VH1 show Single Ladies, and more. She is the co-founder of Ideate Multimedia and the co-chair of the PGA Working Group Producers of Color. Welcome, Shelby. Welcome, panelists. And please, Shelby, take it away.
Thank you. I have to say I'm really, really excited to be doing this particular panel because I feel like everything that you, Ziwe, Hunter, and Alli are doing is helping to kind of add a different point in our cultural experience, right? And as a Black woman of a certain age, I really appreciate what a lot of the, let's just say, younger generation, I sound like I'm grandma, but I'm not, are doing, right? In terms of expanding the cultural conversation about who we are, what we like, what we're capable of. And because for so long, it was such a narrow representation and a very narrow lane kind of conversation. So what I'd love to kind of hear first, and I think everyone would love to know this, Ziwe, you're such an unusual mix. You have a very unusual perspective. You're a performer, you're a writer, you're a producer. Can you talk to us a little bit about your career and specifically about producing?
Sure. I think that I have such a unique set of skills because I come from the live producing background. So I've been doing shows in New York that no one attended for years. And I've been making web series on the internet that no one watched for also years, where you're literally investing in yourself and operating at a loss. And so that makes you a better producer because you got to do it cheap because you can't afford it. So that's really where my skill set comes from, is being a performer, but also writing for myself because there were no roles that I found for myself, and then making it and producing it because who else was going to do it? So that really comes into the diversity of what I do.
Well, so you really learned producing out of necessity because you had to, right?
Yes, honestly, honest to goodness, it was just about investing in myself. Like, I did this internship at Comedy Central when I was 20 years old, and I got a joke on Colbert Report, and I thought, wow, this is it. Now I'm a professional. But obviously there's so much in between today, show running the show Ziwe on Showtime and getting a joke on as an intern. And the big struggle was making and creating and getting my work out there. And so one of the best lessons I got from this comedian named Asif Manvi was that you have to make things for yourself. And so I really took that lesson to heart. And so, I worked at The Onion, and I created a comedy website at Northwestern. And then I also created comedy on my own, on the internet, on the stage, and wherever anyone would watch, really.
That's great. That is exactly kind of how most of us start, right? Nobody hands it to you. You just have to hustle harder than everybody.
Totally.
Yeah.
What I love about producers is like there's this shared tenacity of like, okay, the word producer is so nebulous, but it basically means the person who gets things done, the person you can call when everything starts to fall through and can handle it. And I think Hunter and Alli are such a testament to those kinds of producers. And this show is very scrappy and very small, but we really made something we made something, which is I'm really proud of.
Well, I have to say, Showtime sent me, a link, a way to see the show, which was totally knocked my socks off. It's completely great, what do you call it? People that you interview along with the sketches. And now that you say that, I would love it if I'm going to get to Hunter and Alli in 1 second. Sure. Really what you've done is rethink in your own way what a variety show used to be,
Yes.
right? And what a
Yeah.
talk show used to be. So maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I think that my show is sort of a deconstruction of the celebrity interview, but it really stands on the shoulders of the Eric Andre show, the Oprah Winfrey show, the Colbert Report. And it's a merging of all of these really respected variety shows, and it incorporates this like satire of media as well as the satire of what it means to welcome guests into your show and then be rude to them for comedic effect, as well as the sort of character that I'm playing, who's like this rich, astute Black woman. So as far as the show is concerned, it really was pulling some of my favorite shows that I've watched over the course of my life and paying homage to them.
Oh, cool. Well, it works. It works.
Thank you.
As a launch, that Fran Lebowitz, all of that was brilliant. Totally had me. It's hilarious. She is an infamous curmudgeon, and the two of you were quite something to watch. So
thank you. It was wild, honestly. Thank you. You know what was wild about Fran Lebowitz is that she had dinner with Martin Scorsese afterwards. And so she came onto set and said, I want to do this for 45 minutes and then I'm going home. Bye. And I sort of charmed her into a conversation that was 2 hours. And it was such a struggle to cut that down for what is now a 12-minute interview. But it really was a powerful comedic moment between two people that ultimately came together in the end. So I was really proud of that.
Yeah, no, I could tell, like, you know, I watched those, what is the show that she did with Walking Around New York or something?
Wait, what was it called? Heart of the City?
Something like that, yeah. And, you know, I watched lots of things.
Pretend It's a City. It was called Pretend It's a City.
Yeah. So the two of you, like, I got a huge kick out of just the visuals and then the interdynamics, which, you know, complicated.
Thank you.
Very funny.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'd love to kind of jump to Hunter. And if you would talk a little bit about your kind of career as a producer, how you got into it, you know, and how you ended up working on this show.
Yeah, totally. I started out, as many people start out, as a production assistant, and I worked on a show called Broad City, which was like my dream kind of coming out of college. I really like loved that show and wanted to work in comedy. And I did that, and I did a couple other comedies and was like, oh, this is very fun. But this is like not at all what I thought working in this industry would be like. And so I quickly kind of jumped around and tried different things. I tried production accounting for a couple of years. I tried to be a music supervisor, and things kept kind of like starting, and then me realizing, oh, this isn't totally a fit for me. And so I kind of took an extended period of just being unemployed and looking for like something that I felt like passionate about, quote unquote. And through all of that and like a bunch of conversations that I was having with people at the time, I became an assistant to Robin Thede, who hosted The Rundown, which is also how I met Ziwe. And then went on to create Black Lady Sketch Show on HBO. And so I was her assistant on The Rundown. And I think that process really opened my eyes to like what a producer is, because really like the line from assistant to producer is a very short line, I would say. And I think working with her on that show, it was extremely hands-on for me. I was doing things like, you know, far past what an assistant would do. And even though it only lasted for a season, it was really eye-opening to me, the power that like people have when they kind of come together, and especially like minorities and women and you know, Black people come together in a way that we're able to kind of like talk about media and culture and like what's missing and like what we want to add to it. I was like, oh, this is the group of people that I want to be surrounded by. So after that ended, I ended up working on Deezus and Mero, also with Ziwe. So now we have like kind of two shows that we've been working on together and are forming a friendship on. And Deezus and Mero, I became a true producer on that show, like in the pure sense. And really like Ziwe was saying, it was really like one of those jobs where it's like, oh, you just have to kind of get things done. And like what this title means is so far reaching, and that's a good thing. Like it's good that it's not kind of rigid, it's very flexible. So it was on that for a couple of seasons, and then, you know, last year happened, and Ziwe kind of, you know, she took off online, and we were all just watching this, like waiting for the show to happen. And then it happened, and she, you know, was like, "Hey, I want you to work on this with me." And I think it's truly was a testament to like us working on several shows together, making a couple like scrappy music videos together, and just like I like have always really loved her comedy, always loved what she's been doing, and like the way that she's pushing like mediums in different directions that are unexpected. Yes, it's always been there. So this was truly my dream project. Like, could not have asked for anything more, better, etc. And then kind of hopping into this role was just like another escalation in a way that I like didn't fully understand or anticipate. But like with so many things, you just kind of like, you just do it. You just kind of take it day by day and are like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. And you are surprising yourself constantly, at least I was on the show, but it really kind of worked out. And I think the three of us really formed this bond that I think we only had because we like believed in this thing so much. And we really like wanted to do anything we could to make it just amazing. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here.
But you know, what I love about that, what the story and not your story, but this trajectory is, it's very organic. And it sometimes, like, I didn't grow up thinking, oh, I'm going to be a producer. I kind of backed into it and then went, oh, okay. And it sounds like, you know, that organic nature, of your collaboration with Ziwe over time, being on this show, and also just, you know, that I guess there are people who do grow up thinking, oh, I'm going to grow up and be a producer, but I don't know that many of them. I know more people who kind of learned to do it and then thought, oh, this is actually, you know, what I want to do. So
Totally
makes sense.
Shock.
And then, yeah, right, like, and Alli, would you tell us the same about kind of your trajectory?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I also did not grow up thinking I was going to be a producer. I thought I wanted to be in casting. And so I just like, yeah, I loved talent and, you know, interned in college at various talent agencies and management companies out in LA. And then when I graduated, worked at the Gersh agency for a little bit on the talent end. And then through that, ended up getting a job at this place called Rise Management, which is like a small but kind of mighty comedy-focused management company for this guy named Dan McManus, who represented everyone in this sort of like alt comedy space that I was obsessed with, like Eric Andre and Nathan Fielder and John Early and Kate Berlant. And through that, made a pilot with A24. And when A24's, you know, TV business started to really kick off, I had this relationship with them. They needed someone who knew comedy well, and I was doing so much producing sort of while I was at Rise, just, you know, through, you know, the touring business. All of Dan's clients, you know, we're doing various tours, so I got a lot of producing experience, live producing experience through that, and just, you know, the relationships that I built through working for him for so long with the talent, I think was a value add to A24. And so came over to A24 and as a coordinator, and worked for Ravi Nandan, who's our head of TV at A24. And then, you know, worked on various comedy specials, on Euphoria, on Rami, and a number of our other shows that have kind of taken off in the last couple of years. And then, you know, I was a huge fan of Ziwe's. I've been a huge fan of Ziwe's for a long time. And I think, you know, when, you know, the Instagram Live started to really blow up, it just, like everyone else in comedy, reached out to talk about, you know, doing it as a show. And just because I think Ziwe really encompasses everything that we try to do at A24. I think, you know, we are just so focused on creator-driven content that just feels really and truly distinct and authored, and feels like it's moving the cultural conversation in a way that just doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And Ziwe was doing just that. And so, you know, that's how we kind of got involved in the show. And it's just been absolutely a dream. So yeah.
Well, listen, A24 is a big powerhouse. You guys, both on the TV side and the feature side, have definitely added a lot to the cultural conversations, right? In unexpected ways, which I really appreciate. So
Thanks.
that's great. So that's a bit about who you guys are. I would love to know, besides breaking all the rules and remaking the rules, what is the thing that you want most for the show to do, or to reflect to our society in this moment? Like, what is the theme of the show? Is there a theme of the show? And that
I think the theme of the show is comedy. Ultimately, we're packaging it in a way that's really thoughtful about race. And so with the Instagram live show, you saw that we sort of met this apex in American culture where suddenly we're having really productive discourse about race as the show is blowing up. And I'm talking to Allison Roman and Caroline Calloway and Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano. But the goal always is to entertain. But after that, it's to make these sort of really tense conversations that I've been having all of my life, by the way. People have been confronting me about race since before I could speak, and make it really less uncomfortable to talk about, in a sense that it's like, okay, if you talk about race, if you say the wrong thing, you're not going to die, you're not going to be put in jail, you're just going to be wrong. But you can learn from that starting point. But that's always the goal, is just to entertain people, because again, we're a comedy show. It's just that we have a very specific lens that I think really meets the cultural moment right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, sometimes I think we have less productive conversations about race, not on your show, but just in general. It feels like there was like this minute, and now there's a lot of pushback, but I'm hoping that those of us who are invested in that conversation keep it going.
Totally.
So
I think, oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Well, I just think in terms of like where I come from, I'm from the New England, right? And so New England is supposed to be this sort of post-racial society. I was sort of reared on the idea that Martin Luther King was awesome, Robert Lee sucked. And there really wasn't much nuance in like racial discourse when I was growing up. And I'm from the North. So I can't even imagine in states where they sort of bar any of these discussions from happening on the public school level. So I didn't have the tools for a very long time to talk about race in a way that was comprehensive. And so I'm trying to sort of parent my inner child and give myself the tools, as well as my viewers those tools, because I do agree that a lot of Americans, myself included, don't really know how to engage in this way. But we can learn. There's still time. The world isn't over yet. And so that's really the goal, is to get from a place where we're all collectively like running around with our heads cut off, like, I don't know, should we make the Band-Aids brown? Will that end racism? And get from that moment last year, which was a step forward, by the way, to a moment in the future where we can come together and not feel marginalized, and feel like all of us have a fair chance, and feel like we can have these conversations and talk about our lives, whether you're Black, white, Asian, Latino, or Indigenous, and still feel heard and seen.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm sorry, that was so funny. I think that's great. Yes, in the North, my mother is Creole from the South. So there's a whole other like thing, because I think there were groups of people behind closed doors who were having certain conversations, and then there's the other kind of public non-conversation. So I think that stepping into that is really needed and brave. And you did a lot of great stuff during lockdown and trying to have, actual discourse as opposed to just shutting people off. And, yes, the worst thing you can do is be wrong, as long as you're willing to listen and acknowledge that you're wrong. So
yeah, I think our show comes from a place of not judging, because who am I to judge? I'm not the arbiter of racism. I'm not the arbiter of justice. I am a comedian. I am a young American woman who has a lot of opinions, and I have a television show. And so we use this television show together to share our opinions and ask really profound questions. But that's kind of where we stop. We ask questions because, again, it's like we're all sharing this collective experience together, and we're all going to grow together.
Right. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the comedy sketch part of what you do in your show, and how you guys arrive at what they're going to be. And then, how do as a producing team, how do you say, okay, do you say, well, whoever you are, you have an expertise in a certain kind of, in producing sketches, and you have an expertise in something else? Like, how does that work between all of you all?
It's really all hands on deck. it's like who's not putting out a fire at any given moment. That's the person who we default on, and that includes Jamin Washington, who's another executive producer on the show. But it's really all hands on deck at any given moment, because we are a small team, but we are mighty, and we have a lot of energy.
I can tell. All right, so then how do you pick? Like, what is that mechanism? Like, how do you pick sketches?
How do we pick sketches? I mean, we write a lot. And so I was in the writer's room every day. We have 5 writers, Cola Scola, Jordan Mendoza, Michelle Davis, Jamin Washington, and then myself. And so we wrote a lot of stuff. And then we cut a lot, and whatever sort of we kept coming back to kept getting laughs even after the 3rd or 4th table read. That was the stuff that we gravitated towards. And then we gave that to Alli and Hunter, and we said, do your thing, make it happen. and that always resulted in sort of interesting conversations, but they can speak to that.
Yes, tell us.
We were also, we shot this show very quickly. This whole thing happened very, very quickly. And I think, there were a lot of constraints on every side of this that helped us kind of creatively pick the sketches we were going to do, and every part of this that we were going to do, but like, how does this fit the bigger theme, the bigger picture, and still feel like, the show? So I think that became clear. Like, there was a lot of funny stuff that it was just like, oh, this isn't totally working for this episode, or we don't have $1 million to shoot this, sorry.
And also like, what of like the things that we're like laughing at are like, I feel like it still always had to feel distinct and unique, specific to the show.
Yeah.
And like, as you've like, each episode is themed, and like, what are we saying with each sketch that hasn't been like, is this comedic note out there in the world already, or is this something truly from our point of view? And how are we going to make it specific through our lens? And I think that it's just such a testament to Ziwe and the writers as well, just, in terms of really ensuring that Ziwe's point of view was coming across. And it kind of just was like a trickle down from there.
Totally. And Hunter mentioned that we shot this quickly. I want to give you guys a sense of the time frame. Like, we showed the show in maybe October. The writer's room, we hired November. The writer's room started in December. Wow. And then we shot it for 15 days in February. And then for 3 more days again in June. And those were the interviews with Andrew Yang, Gloria Steinem, Stacey Abrams, Julian Castro, Lil Rel, and one other person I'm forgetting, and Rachel Lindsay. And so we shot this. So we shot this very, very quickly. And so a lot of 18 days. So we had a lot of ideas that involved explosions or protest scenes. But mind you, we're also in the middle of a pandemic. So those, and so these are literal, real world challenges that you can't sort of surmount because we don't have infinite money and disease is constantly spreading. But again, that is a testament to our writers, and that's a testament to our abilities as producers, right? Because things that we couldn't conceive as possible became more possible with sort of creative out of the box thinking. And sort of the small scale things, like something like our music video, Wet Diaper Goo Goo Gaga, which feels very expensive and it's so luxe and there's a great palette. It's shot shot on this small stage and you're just constantly resetting after lunch. So it's, I mean, again, producers are tenacious and they find a will when there is no way. And so our show is the little engine that was able to turn over what I think is a very good show in 6 months. So yeah.
Wow. In 6 months, in
6 months,
18
man.
days of shooting?
In 18 days of shooting, like, hand to God, and no one knows this, nor do they really care, but this is something we're very proud of.
And I would also add, no COVID positives.
No COVID positives.
And no COVID positives.
Wow.
So we are proud.
You should be proud. That's gotta be, I don't know, if there's a Guinness Book of World Records, it must be like a contender, right? For one of these shows to do it that quickly.
Yeah.
I think we're going to submit to Guinness for season 2. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You should. I think that, you should start your award season off right with like the low hanging fruit. You did a whole season of a TV show. That is brilliant. And I can see why Hunter and Alli, are in Mexico, but you're actually not there for fun, right? Tell me, I really am dying to know what you were doing in a cartel palace. Like, is this for the show? Or
We're doing research for season 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very necessary trip right now.
Yeah, it's a field piece. We can't talk much about it.
Yeah.
But,
okay, cool. So when do you start season 2? Is that soon?
Time will tell is the answer that we're giving.
Okay.
But there are some iconic guests, so it's going to be a great time.
I am really looking forward, like truly, I think that's going to be so much fun. And, one of the other I was really curious, like I loved your set and I love this, there's a whole kind of running fashion statement that you as a creator and performer, I'm curious about what was the thinking behind the very fashion statement that's matched by your set design as well as your own wardrobe?
Sure. I think the aesthetic I'm constantly going for is like Black Elle Woods, business Barbie, Dion from Clueless. So I give these vague platitudes to our brilliant set designer, our brilliant costume designer, as well as all of the people on their team, and they sort of take that and run. So I think the cohesion is really a testament to like the cast and the crew selling things constantly. But yeah, the vibe is just Barbie, because again, it's this media satire where this character is sort of stiff and plastic and she has this veneer of like sheen, and then she constantly is undermining everyone around her. So I really wanted to pay homage with all of these sort of brilliant like female driven films that I've watched over the course of my life.
I like that. Elle Woods and what's her name character from
Dion, Stacey Dash character.
Yes. I have worked with Stacey Dash. Yes, on Single Ladies.
I watched Single Ladies, by the way. I didn't realize that you were a producer on that, but what a great show.
Thank you. I loved that show when in its time. There weren't other shows like that. So yeah. I found that show a lot of fun to work on, but I've always loved fashion, but the first thing I noticed on your first episode was the fabulosity. I was like, oh, she's got like, as I've already told you, those boots, which are, inside fashionista, like friends of mine who are fashionable, not me, have been like nattering on about. And I just thought, there's like a whole thing happening here that you don't normally see, which I really appreciated. Like it's super forward while also being, very pink.
Thanks. Yeah. I think we honestly wanted to stand in contrast to like traditional late night, which is so masculine, And so they're blue suits, and it's kind of rigid, and be this like beacon of femininity in sort of protest. Because I've always been socialized to think that if you want to be a woman who's taken seriously, you got to wear glasses and a suit and have a briefcase and be very serious. And I like the idea of playing with being sort of dressed dumb and dressed really, really feminine and in pink and looking so silly, but also being quote unquote. I think that that contrast is something that doesn't exist in the public sphere. And so we really worked with Pam Shepard, who is our costume designer, to bring that to light.
Well, it really works because yes, that is the archetype. It's, you know, suits and a whole kind of look. But I have to say that the guest who most echoed what you just said was your second episode or third episode. I can't remember. But when she came out in that pink dress and the gold buttons, I was like, "Ooh, girl, okay."
Hey, Williams, she was great.
What?
Yeah,
Ebony K. Williams, she was great.
Yes.
Truly.
She was great.
yes. Yeah, she was in the Balmain dress. And what was wild about her, again, the show is constantly mixing high-low. So you're talking to Gloria Steinem one week, and then you're talking to the Real Housewife of New York, Ebony K. Williams, the next week, because both of these have value in society. So she was a really fantastic guest, and a lawyer, just very entertaining, a beauty queen. So that was a really fun episode to shoot.
Yeah, when she was talking about Hallie and, you know, their similarities in the beauty pageants and big boobs. I was like, oh boy, you know, we don't often see women having conversations about, you know, the currency and the complexities of big boobs at all. They're just sort of there and no one mentions them. And instead, this was very specifically talked about, which I got a huge kick out of because it's something my grandmothers both had and that were always topics of conversation when the men weren't in the room.
Yeah, I think our show sort of aims to bring the conversations that we're having behind closed doors onto television for the exploitation of my career. And so I think that Ebony K. Williams really brought that to light with her big titty diatribe. So God bless.
Well, that the Balmain dress and the whole thing just had me. And again, I've never seen the show that she's on, but it almost made me go, I should see that maybe, but I have to think about it because you know, it's a lot. But it is a currency now. Like there is this idea in society that feminism is actually that. Right? It's the Kardashians. It's these are all of my assets and they're all out. And it is the currency of my power as a woman and in a very interesting kind of way that I still struggle with at times, but it was interesting, that conversation with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I struggle with it too, because it's about the capitalization of your literal body, right? So we've become brands inwardly. So it's really complicated, but that's the show. It deals with these complicated issues, and then it's like, so what do you think? I don't know. I won't give my opinion, but you give yours, and that's the fun. It's because it's lighthearted, but these are all issues that we are constantly confronted with in media. So yeah, I'm really proud of those conversations being on our show for sure. But I don't have an answer, and that's the best answer I can always give.
But I'm not sure there is an answer. I think everybody sort of has to figure it out for themselves as they go along. I don't know any other way, but I really appreciated that conversation because it just was not what I was expecting at all. And, you know, it's really complicated stuff. So I'm really looking forward to what you're going to do in season 2. Like,
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see. Time will tell, man.
Absolutely. Like you and Hunter and Alli and all the rest of the team that, you know, we haven't met. Like this is something new, and it's something really fun and something that like will totally make you talk about it with your friends, which is the whole kind of point of figuring out, you know, how we're going to run our lives in 2021 and 2022 and whatever post period that we're in right now. But and then just because we're getting to the end of this conversation, like anything the three of you want to like get out there for the PGA audience?
Anything that's a hard question. I realized that after listening to Hunter and Alli that I never spoke about like the actual tentpole markers of my career, which were Rundown with Robin Thede was my first writing job, and then Jesus and Mero, and then I was a story producer on Dickinson in addition to acting on the side and producing YouTube Baited, which became Instagram Live Baited, which I produced like in my bedroom with a ring light and like 18 pages of questions about Rose McGowan that I like sourced from her book. And to the show in present day. So that's really the conversation is about producing, and what is really small can scale to show like this A24 Showtime show in a really unbelievable way. But you have to start with, again, investing in yourself and investing in people who see your vision. Like Hunter has been producing with me for free for years. And that's why he's the executive producer of my first show, is because we have this great working relationship. I know that he's dependable. I know that he has a good rapport. Alli is someone I met along the way, just she's come to my live shows and we developed this great friendship. So producing, I love producers. I love producing because I like to get things done. And I think that that's just a testament to all of us, really, including yourself, Shelby, who has such a storied career, which I was reading about. Congrats on the Emmy, but you've been working forever. And so that really shows, again, tenacity.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? I'm being genuine.
No, because it's the forever part. I was like, it hasn't been forever yet. When I become a vampire, I will let you know about the forever part. In the meantime, it has been a period of years. But I do appreciate it. It was just the way you said forever that just cracked me up. I was like, okay, I'm going to get my walker out now.
No way. No way.
Put my dog in a basket, and we're just going to hobble.
No, I believe in the wisdom and experience of age. I hope that I can work in this industry for several decades and have a dog on my lap. That is my goal.
You know what? Here's the thing. You will be, because I always like to, now I'm going to, when I do these talks to a lot of film schools, I'll talk about you now and Hunter and Alli, because it seems like a mystery when you're first starting, like you don't know, you want to kind of see if there's like a roadmap, and there really isn't one. It's just about jumping in the deep end of the pool, going to comedy clubs. Alli likes comedy. Hunter likes comedy. You like comedy. Just finding some way to kind of start, right? Because you don't know where any of these relationships are going to lead. You don't know anything, but it's like having faith that somehow it's all going to work out. And that's all I got into producing, because I had a boyfriend who is now my husband who thought I was bossy and arty.
Okay, we love.
Wow. Yes. Today is our wedding anniversary. So, and
congratulations.
Thank you. And then I realized, like, and my father was very traditional Black father, like there are 5 professions. You can be an accountant, you can be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you could be a dentist. And maybe if you're slightly morbid, you could own a funeral parlor, because these are all businesses that will never not get you paid, right? So I didn't want to go to law school. And Robert had this grand idea about turning his thesis into a movie. And then next thing you know, I'm a producer and I'm sitting here many years later. But it's just about having faith that somehow you're on some kind of path. And if you don't like that path, jump to a different path, but just think it's all going to work out at the end somehow, even if you don't understand it. And I feel like somewhere in all of your stories, that's kind of a central theme, right? You just you just persisted.
Yeah,
totally.
I think I was just gonna say, also just, I think following what you are like passionate about, like, I think like each step of at least my journey, I think all of our journeys was just like me just following what I was excited about, like, I think I was, excited about comedy. And when I was working at Rise, just was like, how can I throw myself into this even more so? And how can I just introduce myself to comedians if I really like someone, or show up consistently, you know, to someone like Ziwe's show, where like I work with this other guy named Whitmer Thomas, who I produced his HBO special, and just like showing up to that and being like, I believe in you, and just trusting your belief in someone, just the way that Hunter has believed in Ziwe for so long, and the way I believe in Ziwe so much, and believing so much in that artist's vision that it becomes whatever it becomes. And yeah, like you said, having faith that it will turn into something.
Yeah, I think having the imagination to be like, oh, this could be a thing has been so important. Because I came from a similar background as you, where like my parents were like, you're going to become a business person. And I went to school for accounting, and then like that didn't happen. And having like the imagination to be like, oh, it could be this, it could be this. This is a show that can exist, has really just allowed this to happen for me. Yeah, so definitely 100% co-sign what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
Oh. So yep, here she goes. Wait, hold on. Okay. Wait.
Oh my God.
I love this stuff.
That's a good one.
I text him to come out.
I hope they keep this in.
Just chaos, absolute chaos.
It feels very us.
Oh.
Judy, yay!
Sorry, she really dislikes these people. Not for any reason except, you know, she lived alone with me, and now that she's still not recovered from just random men everywhere. It just makes her really mad.
Honestly, I get it. She would be an iconic guest to interview on next season.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I really appreciate, sorry, people at home, because life is happening in the middle of this Zoom afternoon, but I've so enjoyed getting to know all of you. I hope one century I get to meet you in person. And thank you for taking the time and having this conversation with us all. So
thank you for taking the time to chat with us. This was such a pleasure. So truly, it was a privilege to talk to you guys.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm huge fans of all of yours, and I look forward to season 2 and, you know, just everything. So thank you. And everyone, tune into Showtime. It's a great show. It is not like anything you've seen, and there's something for everybody in this show, and I really appreciate that. So bye, Hunter, bye, Alli, and bye, Ziwe. Nice to meet you all.